Have you ever wondered how the United States conquered the world without firing a single shot? How a simple piece of paper with green ink became more powerful than armies, fleets, or empires? This is not a story of soldiers or tanks. It is a story of money, how America turned the dollar into a weapon of unprecedented power. This power did not erupt from battleships or battlegrounds. Instead, it grew quietly through contracts, credit, and promises written in ink, not blood. Today, the world bows to the dollar, but few remember the invisible war that made it king. What secrets lie behind this quiet conquest? How did the dollar rise not with bullets but with belief? As we explore this story, prepare to see financial power in a new light, as a force that reshaped global history. Before America's dollar ruled the world, the global financial order was anchored by gold and the British pound. For over a century leading to World War I, London was the heart of global finance, where ships carried goods and money across oceans. Every transaction from India to Argentina settled in pounds, which could be converted into gold. This system enforced discipline. You couldn't simply print more gold, and empires lived or died by their reserves. But by the early 1900s, that discipline became a cage. European powers were arming, expanding colonies, and piling up costs their treasuries couldn't bear. The gold standard limited their financial agility. Then, in 1914, the old world caught fire. World War I devoured men and money at an unprecedented rate. Gold drained from vaults. Governments suspended convertibility. Britain, France, Germany all abandoned the standard that held their currencies honest. In that moment, the financial center began to move westward. Across the Atlantic, the United States watched and counted. Though officially neutral at first, America became the arsenal and banker of the Allies. Factories in Detroit, Pittsburgh, and New York roared day and night, sending weapons, food, and fuel overseas. Every shipment had to be paid in dollars, tying the Allies to American credit. Soon, Europe was drowning in debt to American banks. By 1917, J.P. Morgan alone had arranged billions in loans for Britain and France, an astronomical sum for its time. Have you ever wondered how a nation becomes rich from someone else's war? America didn't conquer land, it conquered credit. While Europe bled, the United States accumulated gold and built global finance's infrastructure. By 1919, the U.S. held over half the world's gold reserves. The balance of power had shifted forever. Europe was broken, factories in ruins, governments bankrupt, people starving. The United States stood solvent, stable, and expanding. When nations needed to rebuild, they needed credit that only one place could provide: Wall Street. Throughout the 1920s, U.S. loans flowed abroad like a river of salvation. Germany borrowed dollars to pay reparations. Britain borrowed to rebuild industries. France borrowed to stabilize currencies. The dollar became the world's lifeline despite rising global instability. Then came the Great Depression, a collapse of confidence worldwide. Gold disappeared, currencies devalued, and trade plummeted. Yet even chaos brought new insights about the dollar's emerging role as a global anchor. Out of chaos arose the realization that the world needed one stable anchor. Britain could no longer provide it. The stage was set for a financial transformation that would immortalize the dollar. As World War II unfolded, that realization became destiny. In 1944, 730 delegates from 44 countries gathered in New Hampshire while bombs still fell across Europe. They were writing the constitution of the modern financial world, the Bretton Woods Agreement. It crowned the dollar as king of currencies. Every currency would peg to the U.S. dollar, which in turn was convertible to gold at $35 an ounce. America owned 2/3 of the world's gold, inspiring trust in the system. But there was a hidden genius. Nations had to hold dollars to trade and settle debts. This required them to buy U.S. Treasury bonds, essentially financing America's debt in its own currency. Economists dubbed this the exorbitant privilege. Empires of the past conquered with armies. The United States conquered with a printing press. When Bretton Woods ended European imperialism, it ushered in a subtler force: financial imperialism. The dollar became the blood running through the veins of world trade. Oil, food, machinery, and raw materials, all priced in dollars. To buy or sell globally, you needed greenbacks. This gave the U.S. a new kind of weapon. No empire before possessed the power to cut an enemy off from the world without firing a bullet. Defy U.S. policy, and banks can be locked out of the dollar system overnight. Accounts are frozen, economies strangled, sanctions became the new siege warfare. In the 20th century, cannons took cities. In the 21st century, spreadsheets do. Have you noticed how nations fear being cut off from the SWIFT system? That fear shadows this invisible war. It's a war fought with balance sheets, not battlefields. Yet even empires of credit can break. By the late 1960s, America ran enormous deficits, funding the Vietnam War and Great Society programs simultaneously. Foreign nations began redeeming dollars for gold in growing numbers. The weight of debts shook confidence, tipping America toward a crucial crossroads. Then, on an August night in 1971, President Richard Nixon did the unthinkable. On television, he closed the gold window. The dollar would no longer be backed by gold. It became pure fiat, value by decree. Previous empires collapsed when they debased their money, Rome and France among them. But America managed to maintain dominance because the world had no alternative. Everyone still needed dollars to trade oil, buy goods, and service debts. The dollar transcended gold and became trust itself, a belief that underpinned America's financial empire. That moment marked America's financial empire shifting from invisible to eternal. But a new foundation was needed to uphold dollar supremacy in the post-gold world. In 1974, the U.S. struck a quiet deal with Saudi Arabia. Saudi oil would be sold only in dollars, while the U.S. guaranteed the kingdom's security. Soon, every OPEC nation followed suit. From that moment, global energy, the lifeblood of modern civilization, was priced in U.S. currency. To power a car, build a factory, or fuel a city, you needed dollars. Every country had to earn, borrow, or buy dollars. The dollar was no longer a currency. It became the oxygen of global trade and finance. Throughout the late 20th century, America perfected this system. The Federal Reserve controlled global liquidity, while Wall Street became the heart of international speculation. Every crisis, from Latin America in the 1980s to Asia in the 1990s, reinforced a paradox. When the world panics, capital rushes toward the dollar, not away from it. It's a brilliant paradox. Even when U.S. errors trigger global pain, those same mistakes enhance its control. Crashes send money fleeing into U.S. Treasury bonds, the winds that keep America's empire afloat. Have you ever wondered why every major financial meltdown ends with the dollar stronger than before? That is no accident. It is strategy, a war waged in markets, not on battlefields. Today, battles are still fought, but their battleground is different. Modern sanctions cripple nations faster than naval blockades could. Spikes in U.S. interest rates can bankrupt dozens of countries simultaneously. When Washington raises rates, global capital rushes home, currencies collapse, imports become unaffordable, governments fall, all without a single missile fired. This is today's geopolitics. The world depends on the dollar, and the dollar depends on the world's dependence. Yet, challengers rise. China, Russia, and others seek alternatives, payment systems, digital currencies, and localized trade. But dismantling a century-built empire is no small feat. As long as trust in the U.S. system outweighs fear, the dollar remains the throne everyone pretends not to kneel before. But every empire made of promises faces a paradox. Trust can vanish faster than gold can melt. The privilege to print without limit tempts ruin. Mounting debt, political division, and inflation weaken the illusion of permanence. History shows no currency reigns forever. Have you ever wondered what happens if the world stops believing in the dollar? The collapse won't be sudden. It will fray slowly through new alliances, systems, and doubts. The end of financial empires starts as a whisper. So what does this silent war mean for you, living under the dollar's shadow? First, understand that money is power only while it is trusted. Governments can print bills, they cannot print faith. Every inflation, crisis, and rescue follows the same pattern. Create credit, promise stability, then shift costs onto the future. It's an ancient strategy used by Rome, Britain, and now America. Third, real wealth lies not in digits or decrees, but in skills, resources, and production that survive the loss of trust. When the money wars end, these are the people who endure. Have you ever realized that the most powerful empire in history didn't rely on colonies or kings, only confidence? Every nation works, saves, and borrows in a language scripted by the U.S. Treasury. This secret war that crowned the dollar king was never declared, but it was won long ago. It is a war of patience, policy, and persuasion, and its battles continue today. Because the dollar's true weapon isn't paper, It's belief. As long as the world believes, America rules. But history reminds us that belief is not forever, and empires that confuse faith with truth face decline. If this exploration gave you a new perspective, stay tuned. Our next video will uncover the hidden ties between currency and digital power, how money shapes the internet age. For more insightful stories, explore our playlist on financial history. Each video dives deep into the forces shaping our world through money and markets. What in this story surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. Your thoughts help us explore the complex world of economics and power. If this video expanded your understanding, consider subscribing. There's more history and analysis waiting, told in a calm, clear voice to help you see the world differently.